Hello, I'm Darren again. The topic for today's video comes from questions on the subject of antagonistic narcissism. So in this video, I'm going to outline some of the common characteristics and behaviours associated with antagonistic narcissism, but also look at the impact of its destructive nature. So if you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel. So research suggests that antagonistic narcissism is a subtype of grandiose narcissism. We often see the same traits. There's haughty behavior, arrogance, and the need for dominance. However, antagonistic narcissism represents a belligerent form of narcissistic behavior. It's characterized by a desire for dominance, a willingness to harm others for personal gain and gratification. Antagonistic narcissists take offense very easily and can be very quick to anger. They hold grudges and can take pleasure in making others suffer for their perceived wrongs. So here we see both a vindictive and a sadistic side to narcissism. Whether it manifests itself in personal relationships or wider social contexts, antagonistic narcissism often leaves a trail of destruction in its wake. So the following behaviours would not just be once in a while, they would be long-term, recurring, persistent, and pervasive. So firstly, perhaps at a low level, antagonistic narcissists are maybe just someone who enjoy teasing or making deliberately inflammatory comments just to get a reaction. Sometimes you might actually see them smirking whenever they upset, frustrate, or anger someone. Like energy vampires, they induce arguments just to feed off the reaction. They feed off the drama and the conflict. They can also spread gossip, cause contention. They can set others up to argue with each other and then just sit back and watch. They thrive off the drama and the chaos, often having little regard for the upset they cause. Secondly, they demand perfection. Nothing is ever good enough for them and can punish accordingly whenever their expectations aren't met. They might punish through outrage or by sulking. They can find fault in everything and everyone, while often oblivious to their own faults or own errors, and heaven help anybody who points them out. Next, they have a need to be right about everything and often go to great lengths to try to prove it. They might try to rewrite history or reality if they have to. Now, if they can't be right about something, what they might try to do is to discredit the credibility of the other person so that no one will take them seriously. They'll draw attention to personality traits, behaviors, physical characteristics, beliefs, even past errors, anything they can use to discredit the person. So they don't actually attack the person's points, they attack the person and can be quite vindictive in those attacks. Next, they are very competitive and must always come out as superior. They can take great pleasure in making other people feel small. In fact, it could be said they only really feel good about themselves if they're feeling better than other people. They constantly seek to assert their dominance and superiority at any cost, so they bully and they belittle others. Now, this could be through threats, outrage, perhaps a twisted sense of moral or intellectual superiority. They undermine and harm others around them just to maintain their exaggerated sense of self-importance, especially those they consider to be a threat to their inflated self-image. Next, they can hold a relentless grudge, whether real or imagined. Now, narcissists generally have a long memory when it comes to any kind of perceived slight, criticism, or offense. In fact, anything they consider to be a personal attack against their self image or their sense of entitlement. This is often referred to as a narcissistic wound. They are also notorious for their inability to forgive. They harbor deep seated grudges and resentment. Their anger, their pain gives them what's referred to as a moral immunity. They believe they have the right to hurt others due to their perceived slights. But also with antagonistic narcissism, rarely do you see any interest in apologies, solutions, or resolutions to disputes. In many cases, they just want to keep the conflict going. Now, with narcissism, if someone were to give an apology or to back down, a narcissist might consider that to be a weakness, a vulnerability, something to be exploited. An antagonistic narcissist, however, might consider that to be an admission of fault, a confession of wrongdoing, so they are entitled to their anger and the other person deserves to be punished even further. So rather than engaging in healthy conflict resolution or open communication, they resort to vindictive behaviors seeking to retaliate to maintain a sense of control, even if the other person has apologized or backed down. It's as if winning isn't enough. They have to destroy the other person. So they're just some of the common characteristics and behaviors associated with antagonistic narcissism. Now let's have a look at its destructive nature. Firstly, it can cause significant emotional and psychological harm to those they come into contact with. Their need for control, their behaviours erode trust, respect, and can create toxic dynamics in many of their interactions. In relationships, they may constantly belittle their partner's achievements, diminish their self worth, their self esteem, engage in power struggles. They engage in emotional manipulation, gaslighting, and verbal abuse, often to just dominate and control their partner. They diminish their partner's self worth just to feel a sense of superiority. They use perceived wrongdoings as a means to assert power and control over their partners, and by refusing to forgive, they maintain a sense of superiority and keep their partners in a perpetual state of guilt and fear. Now, if the partner were to leave to end the relationship, and the antagonistic narcissist was able to convince them to come back somehow, they would still have this need to punish them for leaving in the first place. Now, when it comes to relationships with their children, they can struggle to accept their kids' mistakes or shortcomings. They hold on to perceived failures as a means of exerting control. They might subject their children to constant criticism, emotional neglect, instilling deep rooted feelings of inadequacy and worthlessness. And the unwillingness to allow children to just be children, to learn, to grow, the lack of forgiveness can create an environment where children feel perpetually judged and unable to escape the shadow of their parents' continual disapproval. And on the internet, there's a narcissistic antagonism associated with online trolls. They're frequenting online platforms, sometimes looking for people they disagree with or disapprove of, or sometimes just someone to provoke and attack. They relish in the negative attention, enjoying the power they feel whenever they cause distress to other people. In workplaces, antagonistic narcissists can undermine their colleagues' achievements with their worth ethic, belittle their skills. They can be workplace bullies. They also take credit for other people's work and can be quite contentious towards those they see in junior positions, as well as envious towards those they see in senior positions. They can sabotage others, spread rumors to cause dissent. Their behaviours prevent collaboration, erodes team morale, and it hinders organization as well as personal growth. In community and social settings, antagonistic narcissists often engage in relentless self promotion, often exploiting others for their own agenda. They infiltrate, often taking over groups, climbing over others in the way. They often become the loudest voices, turning whatever that group was into something deeply toxic. Just like grandiose narcissists, they're often driven by the need for recognition and success, but often disregard the well being of others, sometimes even disregarding whatever it is they're supposed to support. It's all about them. In positions of power, they often display authoritarian behaviors. They ignore diverse perspectives, suppress dissenting voices, shut down debate and discussion. They exploit their positions to fulfill their own desires for admiration and control, often creating a toxic environment for everyone. They create discrimination, division, constant conflict, fear, and unrest. So, in conclusion, now I've said previously in other videos, I think narcissism is quite destructive by nature. It tends to destroy things from the inside, and when it can no longer do that, it tends to try to destroy it from the outside. With antagonistic narcissism, what we often see is an unyielding and unforgiving nature. There are relentless grudges coupled with an inflated sense of self importance. Their need to keep others under control often create toxic environments. Those environments prevent healing, growth, and perpetuate emotional abuse. They tend to damage people, families, institutions, and organizations. It is, however, ultimately self destructive. So that's a brief outline of antagonistic narcissism. Now, as always, if there's anything I've missed, anything you'd like to add, please feel free to use the comment box below. There are some interesting conversations started around these videos, but if you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.